It's recording. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Boonie. I'm ENFP, and I'm here with my lovely friend. We're going to talk about love languages. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Tori, and I also have a YouTube channel on MBTI and personal development, and it's called Tori H. So you can find out more there.
And did you share what your type is?
Oh yeah, I'm an INFJ. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Totally. You are not a mistype person. You are totally INFJ. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of that confusion, a lot of those confusion online. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you know about love languages?
So I remember I first got to know about it when I was in school, and somehow the school made us do a test. So basically, I think it's I don't know if I remember everything, but I think it's something along the lines of how you prefer people to kind of show their love for you, so show up for you, and some of them are kind of like words of affirmation, like quality time, acts of service, gifts, and and one more. I can't remember suddenly, but yeah, it's basically like how people show their affection to you and what you prefer it to be, so it means more to you.
I think that's awesome that your school asked you to do that. I went to school for clinical psychology, and we didn't get asked to do that, which I wish we did. Someone had to bring it in. One of my classmates, she's like, "This is an awesome book. Here, Boonie, look at it. It's about 5 love languages." And I thought it was awesome. And so it's interesting that depending on the program that you go to, you either get introduced to a wealth of information and resources, or you don't. And you have to search the internet for the right resources. And so I think you mentioned it before, where you said, before we recorded, your love language has changed over time. I think it has been the same case for me. And I kind of pair that with knowing who I am, being more accepting of what I want. So what are your primary love languages?
So the last time that I tested, my primary languages are acts of service and gifts. So I think going off what you said, definitely I knew myself more now than before. Maybe before I was kind of going off what everyone else was, kind of talking about. But now I know myself better because I have more experiences, and I can actually go off what I experience rather than theoretically. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So sometimes we have the pressure, right, to go towards a certain act of form of love. So for me, let's see. I thought that acts of service was not one of my primary love languages because I'm better than that, I want to be quality time and words of affirmation because I'm such a spiritual, high level being, such an intellectual, and I want people to do things that are resonating with the same type of love. And but then when someone didn't do something for me, like wash the dishes or something, I felt very unloved. And for me, it's just very simple. Hey, if you want to show me that you love me, I would really like it if you help me with the dishes, something simple like that. But other people might interpret it as something very, very different. So it's very interesting. So I opened up just a quick website over the love languages. And so we have quality time, we have receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. Is that 5? Yes. And so
physical touch is the one that I
left out. Physical touch. You don't like being touched.
I think because it's not so major. I mean, it is good, but it's not like, oh, you have to in order for me to feel loved. I mean, I just feel like it will naturally happen when people are in love. So it's not like, oh, I deliberately look out for it. I think it's also because of my understanding of relationships. Like I tend to look at action more than words now because I think I trust when people show up through actions. So that's why words of affirmation is not that high on the list for me right now. Because I feel like people, I mean, it's nice to hear affirmative words, but I feel like people's actions show more to me than words. And I don't know if this is a type thing or whatever, but I just feel like it's more honest. Actions are more honest to me. And like other things like quality time and physical touch, especially physical touch, I feel like it doesn't really show that they love me. It may just be like they find me attractive. So like it's not like a defining trait. Whereas if someone show you through like acts of service, then it's like, oh, they are actually, you know, almost like they are sacrificing their time or, you know, they are willing to invest. That's how I feel.
I love that description. I do. And I think that's comes from a level of maturity and knowing how to be your own person without somebody else to kind of validate or feed your ego or some type of false understanding of who you are. I have been there. I've done that where I thought that, you know, the words of affirmation were what I really needed. I would chase that. And so I have been talking about that aspect of it. And actually, you know, it doesn't have to be type related, but I think that a lot of younger people, I'm going to throw an Enneagram 2, 3, and 4. We seek belonging and acceptance through the reactions of other people. You know, we don't feel truly loved and kind of enmeshed when someone else doesn't reflect our value. And so I think that can be a form of unhealthiness with a love language where we think that's what we want, you know, until we get to the other side of realizing it's actually not what we want. We're actually sabotaging ourselves by chasing something that would make it worse. So I think that's very important to think about as well. Like the evolution of your identity could be paired with your love language that you're chasing or you think you want, but you don't, you know?
Yeah, and I just feel like acts of service is also like really helpful because there are certain things that I'm not good at. And I mean, I guess like type related because I'm INFJ, so I'm not that good with the day-to-day stuff sometimes. So it's like, it's a great help, you know, if someone can help me with like, I don't know, IT issues or something that it's not in my strength. So it just helps to relieve stress.
I agree. So you already said the love languages that you prefer yourself. What are your favorite love languages that you like to give other people?
I think give other people probably quality time and words of affirmation. I think again it might be type related because NFJs like to give words of affirmation and quality time is just for me because I am quite selective when it comes to like who I spend my time with. So especially now, like if I see someone whom I feel is not, I feel like people sometimes misunderstand and think that, you know, you have to always be with someone to show that you are, you know, somewhat like, oh, you have something going on. But for me, it's like, because time is so precious to me, I don't want to be with someone who is really incompatible or just doesn't really mesh well, you know, with like their phase in life or something. So it's like if I want to spend quality time, then it means a lot to me, and so I want to give that to people that I value. Yeah,
I like that explanation a lot. It's very, you know, very sincere, very thought out, and very respectful, because some people, I think I do a lot of thinking based on memes that I see. And one of the memes was like, don't go back to someone's toxic relationship just because you're lonely, you know, like, and I think about that a lot because, you know, in the groups, there's a lot of people who perpetuate and relive toxic relationships. They haven't learned their life lesson yet, or they're not sure of what their pattern is and how to break free from that. And so like the quality time, you know, that's a reflection of your self-respect. I think it is. Like if you choose to spend your time with a specific person, that's an honor. You know, we do not have much time in this life to really give it to everybody who just asks for it. So it does make a very, it's a powerful gesture when you both understand how important time is. It is.
Yeah.
So for me, I used to think my love language was words of affirmation when I sought to be filled by other people's words and love. And that, I think, it's a balance, right? It's a detriment when you're chasing too much of something. I've come to this place where I really do value acts of service and physical touch. I don't like being touched by most people. So like if I love someone, I'm gonna hug them like crazy and like that. Hopefully they understand, like when I love you, when I care about you, I'm gonna hug you and hold on to you. Like I'm gonna be like a koala on a tree. I won't let go. I really like you around me. Like, don't leave me. So the one thing that I think that I've had a difficult time with is receiving gifts. I'm very particular with space and hoarding. So receiving gifts is very difficult for me, just to even want to receive things from people, even though people in my life keep on wanting to buy me things. I don't want stuff. Like, is there any love language that you don't prefer?
For me, actually, all of them are fine. Like I'm okay with them, but I think for physical touch, like I like receiving physical touch. The thing is, but it's like in the beginning of a relationship, I would rather not, because I feel like it would remind me of like some non-relationship or casual relationship situations. So I would rather it be like later in the relationship.
Do you go like yeah, stop? What do you do then? Like
I know, because it just I feel like some people they are I don't know, they are like using that to progress too fast, and that's not what I like. But I mean, I'm okay with it. It's just not like going too far too fast, I guess.
Oh, so that's interesting. I'm going to ask in terms of cognitive functions then. With your introvert intuition, do you kind of have a roadmap of where you think the line of or a boundary is, and then you kind of get feel if someone's about to cross it or go too far, too fast? Is that what you get? Is that how you kind of envision it?
Yeah, I guess. Like, I guess I sometimes just think about it in my head first. And then if that person is doing something, like sometimes I can't say no in the moment, which is bad, I know. But like I have been practicing, and I think that it just lowers the impression in my mind when someone like does something that I feel is not appropriate for the first few meetups. But actually, the thing is, on the inside, I really value physical touch. I just don't want it to be like too fast, too soon, because it just makes me feel like that person might not want the same, like I might not be wanting to date, but
yes,
like, you know, casual stuff only.
Yes, and that's so important. I think a lot of us, this is something that I was thinking about, I wanted to mention. It's the word assumption, right? There's so many assumptions in relationships. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. We assume so much, like, this person, we're compatible. Let's just jump ahead 5 million steps, and then you can't take it back. You know, it's attached with meaning, it's attached with intense emotion. And again, you can't take it back. So sometimes people just want to rush things when it's not the time and place to do something. But we don't really talk about it sometimes. So do you think with certain types, that could be more of a difficult thing to do?
You mean like to not rush things, or to
the mismatching and the rushing with certain love languages?
Yeah, I think also it's like it also comes with maturity, I feel, because for some types, like I don't know, maybe like the SP types are more into physical touch, but I feel like if you explain it to them, they would understand. If they really respect you, they would not rush things. But if they are not mature, or if they are not really that respectful of you, then they would continue to whatever their own preference is. So it really depends on the boundary and also their level of maturity and respect. And you can also test that to see how whether they really care about you, because people who care about you will respect your boundaries.
Let me repeat that. People who care about you will respect your boundaries. We're going to put that in a quote in the description in the future. And I think that's something like, I don't know, I think it's something that many of us are starved for affection and validation, that we don't remember that, or we don't truly believe what that really means. And it's important. I think it's a life lesson, really. And you kind of get revisited over time, because it's not perfect how people treat you and what you want from others. And so I'm curious, it's funny because I date mostly sensates. Do you date sensates or specifically intuitives?
I don't really have a set type, I guess, but like I tend to take people, I mean, this is just a tendency, but not like set in stone or anything. I tend to date people who are more chill than me.
More chill than you? Okay. More chill than you.
Like more laid back.
More? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I tend to go for perceiving types, but like, it's not like set in stone or anything. I have dated a lot of, dated but not in a relationship with like SFP, because sometimes I feel like they're not like in the same phase in life, because they're not like looking for the same things that I look for. But I have also dated, I have dated intuitive, but I think for intuitive, like, it really depends as well. So yeah, actually it really depends. I'm not really like either intuitive or sensor person. But I would say for sensors, they have to be able to at least go to the intuitive side sometimes. Otherwise it just, it's hard to communicate. So yeah.
I agree. Also want to throw in, since I'm a strong perceiver, my relationship with time is a pretty strong component with whether it will be compatible or not. So I was with an ESTP and he's very present focused. I would focus on the future and planning a lot. And he's like, why don't we just enjoy the moment? The information is what we have right now. Like, we don't need to think about anything else that's going to happen. I would plan all the time and kind of like prep for the next 10 steps for potential outcomes. And so I think that was a barrier, and yet something that took a really long time to reach a mutual understanding of when we're going to talk about the future and when we're going to just be present, which I think we both valued from, which is pretty cool. So I think that for me would be a valuing of quality time, because it's the perception of time I think is very important to me, because I am usually focused on the future a lot. And I think with this, yeah, I
am too. And I also care a lot about punctuality, but like that's a separate issue. But anyway, it's not like a love language, but it's something that I care a lot about, because I mean, with friends, it's like, it's okay, but I feel like with dating, it's like if you're late for something, it just makes me have a bad impression.
Yeah. Like, I'll be late for myself and my stuff, but if it's for other people, I'll try my best to be on time or early. And I'm so bad with scheduling that I'll do it like an hour or two ahead of time to make sure that I'm there on time. Crazy. So I actually had a couple thoughts that popped into my head. So let's say that you're with someone and your love languages just are not the same. What would you do to kind of meet in the middle or explain what you need from them?
Let me think. Yeah, that's quite tough, because for me, like, the acts of service and gifts might seem a little,
like, gimme.
It's like, yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like if the person like spending time with me, and it depends on what his love language is, I guess. If his love language is like, maybe time and words of affirmation, then I think I think I would still like sometimes ask him to help me with stuff just to see whether, because I would obviously not ask him to do things that he cannot do. It's usually like things that I struggle with and I know he's good at. So I would assume that he wouldn't have a problem with it because it's something that he is good at. So I would assume it's like a time for him to show off or something.
Aw.
So I think maybe I would like, but with the gifts thing, it's really difficult because it's like if you like ask for it, it's not really a gift anymore.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something. The thing is also I feel like that's why initially I think when I was first into the love languages thing, I didn't answer gifts as part of the main one because I feel like people think of it as like a very, shallow thing, like, oh, receiving so many gifts. And I mean, for me, it's not really like the gift. I mean, it is the gift itself, but it's also like it reminds me that someone is thinking of me. It's like, that kind of feeling, because I remember sometimes during your birthday, I mean with friends too, it's like when they give you something and they know what you like, and it's like, oh, you remember. It's like so nice, and I feel like it's just like a physical evidence to me, like that someone is thinking of me. And because otherwise I don't know whether they are. I mean, not saying I don't know, but like, it's just nice to have that evidence, or just like it's like you remember that person when you look at it. So that's, for me, it's like I guess this is really hard to communicate. Again, like I don't want to force people to give me something because that defeats the purpose,
right?
Because they are supposed to just be thinking of me and when they prepare something, not when I ask them to. So yeah, I don't think I will ask someone to give me something.
Yeah, we'll just show them this video, that's all. Indirect. So that's interesting for me because while you're talking, I'm agreeing with you, and yet I would not put gifts as one of my top 3 love language, and yet I love it when someone writes me a love letter. I love it so much when a child draws me something, a picture about us. I have books and binders of all these children's pictures that have been given to me because I work with a lot of children, and it's the most valuable thing to me ever. And so I guess I do have this sentimental, intense attachment to something that comes from the heart, comes from you. And so it does feel good to be thought of. Like you drew a memory of us. You remembered something about me. It is nice to be remembered. I think it's I wish.
And I understand.
I just wish we could reframe what gifts mean to people.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like, obviously it depends on the person's financial situation. And I feel like sometimes I understand like not everyone's love language is giving gifts. So with some people, they just don't, it's not that they don't think of you, they just don't have that habit. But I feel like because one of my main love language is gifts, when people do give me, like it makes me like feel very loved. I guess that's why it's like part of the top language. Like I remember some friends would just, they travel and then they will like bring back some souvenirs, and I'll be like, yay, like this is, I feel like, wow, you value our friendship a lot.
Yes, like even though you traveled, you thought of me while you were on the other side of the planet,
Yeah. And like even like postcards and like sometimes they'll give me like chocolate, like cookies or something, and I'll be like, wow, like I mean it's like some people it's like they don't, because it's maybe not their main love language, so maybe they don't react the same way, but for me it's like I really like that. And it just makes me feel like, oh, I'm so valued. Yeah.
It's so cute, like it's something so little, like, but here's a little thing. Here's my heart, you can eat the chocolate. This is a piece of my heart. Oh, so cute. I love it.
Yeah.
Very endearing. I wanted to weave in another thing about culture. We're both collectivists, I assume. And how do you think there's a overlap or translations, difficulties, or no miscommunication at all when it comes to dating or having partners or friends who are maybe individualists or collectivists when it comes to expressing or showing care?
Right. I don't know whether I'm parked neatly in one because I also have individualistic tendencies. I guess yeah, I don't really know. Do you mind if you maybe specify the differences a little?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, well, I have this like list of like Confucianism, and there's a hierarchy of like deferring to status and blah, blah, blah. That's not a good description, I'm just saying. But there's also this whatever you do reflects upon me too within the system that we're together. And so you cannot really have a voice unless implicitly everybody agrees that this is the good choice. So I think it's a lot about status and face too. I don't know if you have your family system has to deal with face. I just eye rolled about face and status in my family, but like depending on your accolades. So like I don't know if you see a lot of Asians with designer handbags and stuff, because that's a huge part of the culture. Like you have to show your success in a certain way. It's about status. It's about being the most beautiful and like having, a certain face, a certain look, a certain hair. And that can be with the loves and gifts that you give your partner. And then you kind of like show it off Instagram too. And that's part of like the status and the face part of being such extremely collectivist. That's what I think about.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I guess it does affect me because, I grew up with that societal norms and all that. It does affect me definitely. I think for me, I mean, again, it really depends on the financial situation of the partner. I mean, I have not had a very rich partner yet who can like buy me designer bags. So that's not really something that ever happened. But like, I mean, if the person is financially capable, I would be okay if he gave me something like that. I mean, it's not like a necessity, but it's a nice gesture, because I feel like for people with different financial capability, like what they can buy just differs a lot. So so it's like depends on the person and how much he can. So it depends on his ability. But yeah, I definitely like to show if someone give me something, if it's like a very precious thing. I do like to show it sometimes. But I guess like my individualism versus collectivist is a bit mixed, because I have some preferences that may not be completely aligned with the collectivist structure. But it really depends. And for me, like if someone is overly collectivist, that might be difficult for me, because if, for example, if they require me to give them something to like, cement the status, or like, oh, this is the grand gesture on a certain birthday that you have to give. I would feel quite stressed, I think. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
I would rather it be more like natural.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part of being in our own versions of like hybridity between the two worlds. Like I have no problem, wanting to blend into another collectivist family system. But then part of that, I know as a woman going into the family system, I would have to placate the mother, right? Future mother-in-law. I'd have to offer gifts. I would have to subdue myself and not have much of a voice, because that's not as welcomed, it's, I like speaking up, and yet it causes a lot of friction of when I'm allowed to talk and when I'm not allowed to talk. And that for me is probably why I lean towards words of affirmation so much, because maybe in parts of my life, my voice was not allowed in a certain space and I didn't feel like it was important. So sharing my words with others would help me feel like it did matter and they were allowed to be as free, as independent as they wanted to be. So this is a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I guess I do lean more towards the individualistic element in my own personality. So I would prefer if someone is a bit more individualistic as well in their own personality. So even if like they live in a collectivist society and maybe have to observe certain norms, but it's not like they are obsessed with it, or they follow completely the rules, I guess. So that would like give both of us a lot more freedom. Yeah, like I would actively seek out people who are similar in that sense.
How do you find them? Where are they?
You mean like in the Asian society?
Yeah.
I think for me, I mean, my society is also kind of mixed. I don't know, because it really depends on the person, because like for example, for now, I don't think a lot of young couples stay with their parents, so that part is like, I guess, solved. Because young couples don't like to stay with their parents because of the, I mean, it's not that they don't like it, but it's more like it creates a lot of complications for the marriage, because it's like, you know, whose parents should stay with us, and for both sides, and like, you know, it's just too confusing. And I think other than maybe Korea and maybe Japan, where that is still a very huge thing, but I think for Chinese parents, it's kind of like a lot of young couples are staying by themselves and like maybe near their parents, but they're not like exactly with their parents. So there's no like added complication of having to deal with the placating and, you know,
Sounds so freeing. And I think that's a really cool part of the evolution of just each generation has more permission to be their own selves. That's so cool.
Yeah. And do you want to maybe go into the type related
we should talk about we should talk about types. What do you want to talk about?
Forgot about that for a while.
Oops.
So yeah, I mean, you're an ENFP, and not trying to stereotype or anything, but like, I don't know if you heard of this theory that you are supposedly paired with the STJs for like the maximum comfort. I mean, that's what I heard, but like, I don't know if that's something that you would. I don't know if that's an aligning.
Do you want me to respond to that?
Sure.
Okay, so gosh, I have such a biased view on certain romantic types. The clash with me is I don't like being told what to do. ESTJs show love by telling people what to do.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Right? I have this large sense of freedom. I will make mistakes and figure it out on my own. It's life. Life is messy. I learn from my mistakes. It's the easiest way for me to make sure I do not repeat the mistake. If you protect people, if you guide them and tell them everything they need to do, then I'm not learning anything. I'm just like being molded by other people, and I really don't like that. And so the extroverted thinking dominants that I know, I will keep them like at a distance. I'll respect their expertise. And yet when it comes to showing love, if they have a poor boundary of constantly telling me what to do, and then they feel hurt when I don't listen to them, that's a mismatch. Like me trying to explain, you know, I value your opinion. You're really smart in this area. I can tell because you've been successful. You're really good at this. And yet I'm not going to do exactly what you tell me because I'm not your robot to like push buttons and just do stuff for. Like, what's the point? You can show love by offering me care and that you believe in me to pursue knowledge. You can give me information. Like if it were a different way to approach it, then I'd be okay with that. If you share information, things that you looked into, I can make the calculated decisions now because you guided me in that way instead of telling me exactly what to do. And so I would like that extra freedom. If I met an ESTJ who would do that, or an ENTJ, hey, I think that space to make my own decisions, but also gently guiding me instead of telling me what to do would make the world of difference.
Yeah, I think ISTJs, in my opinion, are a lot more gentle in their approach. I don't know if you have experiences with ISTJs, but I actually like had some experiences with them, and yeah, they are a lot nicer, despite their robotic stereotype, but they are a lot nicer than the ESTJs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like based on the types you dated, do you think there are certain types that are better in terms of the love languages? Like they just seem to, you know, mirror your love languages back?
Since I do have a strong preference for introverted thinking, I lean towards ESTPs, ISTPs, and INTPs. So there's a tendency for, I think, NE dominance, extrovert intuitive dominance. We chase people who are mysterious because people in general are easy to figure out. We want some challenge. We want someone fun to understand. So we'll chase the distant, misunderstood person. And so like TI is completely opposite of any of my cognitive functions. So I keep chasing that. And it's a comfort for me because my dad is ISTP. And so I've been shaped by this building calluses around my heart by being around strong TI. And so I'm just comforted by it. And when I'm able to be more clear and thorough, even though I use TE, right? It's cool to see someone respect my words, even though we do not come from the same path of cognition at all. I think it's a great grounding and validating experience to see them like look at me and listen. They're not challenging me. They're not picking apart my word choice. They just get it. Like I'm very clear. And so like they're able to offer it. And it is, again, it's a growth experience where I'm able to identify right away, I'm not going to be making people guess what I need. I'm not going to be playing, games with like, I don't know, you don't have to do it, like kind of thing. Like, no, this is what I want. This is how you can do it. And these are many options for you to try and show me when you do this. I love it. This makes me feel super cared for and valued, like the most important person on the planet. I would like more of this. Can you offer more of this? Yes or no? So for me, I like the clarity, like the directness of communicating with the TI user.
Right. Do you think they provide you with the love languages too, like the ones that you value?
So they provide me with what I need to grow, which is very interesting because, like I mentioned before, I spent my 20s probably chasing validation instead of love, which is not something I recommend people to do, but maybe we have to do it to grow up. So while I was chasing validations, I thought I needed a lot of words of affirmation to be successful in life, to love myself. Turns out that what I need is just someone to be present and believe in me. So I don't know what love language that is, but just to have someone have that understanding and like the same conviction in my dreams and my abilities to succeed means a lot, because I think I'm changing a little bit. My Enneagram might be a 4-wing 3. I thought it was a 4-wing 5, but I want to be successful and like change the world in big ways. And so having someone as like my partner in crime to do big things and not question my abilities, that's my form of love. I don't know what that is though. Like,
yeah, I have that too. I mean, I do want that too. Like, I guess on a separate note, TI is also really good with the Excel service, I assume. I mean, I know some INTPs who are pretty good at that. So,
right, exactly. Yeah.
So that's also a way.
You're right. So the love language that I see most from the TI users in my life is exactly that. Acts of service. They're ready to give me information, and that's how I want to be supported. I don't need people telling me what to do. I just want guidance, again, to like combine things into my own novel way, because I'm an NE dominant. I need to go through different sources of information and compile it and then come out with something for myself. And so they know exactly what I need, and then they'll like nudge me along my path. And like having a TI dom or SE, TI user, it's a tangible form of support to help me be present in the world. And that's what I value too, because I'm not always present, I'm always in my head. And so they've helped me learn to ground in my body, actually enjoy the world, enjoy nice things. It's cool that we can balance that out.
Yeah, and like for me, because I guess like I'm paired up theoretically with like ESPs. And what I noticed is that, I mean, I have honestly not dated a lot of ESPs because a lot of them they don't settle down until a later age, I guess. But I do notice that in terms of the love languages, I do notice that they like giving a lot of gifts. I don't know if that's like a thing that you experience, but I know like ESFPs like giving people a lot of gifts, especially people they love. Like obviously not like random people, but like their partners and so on. And my ISFP friend also gives a lot, and sometimes attach a card to it and so on. And I don't know if that's like the part of the theory or whatever, but I think that's something that I really do appreciate. And also like the TI thing is definitely related to acts of service, because they like resolving problems. So that's something I appreciate.
I like that connection right there. Like,
yeah, because I really, it's just like sometimes I really need help, you know, because I get stressed out by like details and like, you know, assembling stuff. I'm really not good at it. And or something like computer problems, or you know, sometimes when there's like complicated instructions where you have to maybe even like in daily life, like, oh, how do you get to book something or make a trip happen? Sometimes the acts of service from TI users, not just TI users, but you know,
right,
people maybe of that similar preference helps a lot.
That just made me think about SJs. So ESTJs, ISFJs predominantly in my life, and their love language, I guess I'll pair with acts of service, but also meeting your basic needs to survive, like cooking you food, baking you something that was very sweet. And like ESTJs in my life, money management, like want to make sure I know how to manage money to survive in the future. Your mom? Oh man.
Yeah, my mom does that all the time.
But it comes off as lecturing sometimes. But like, okay, yeah, I was like, okay, you love me, I get it. Stop loving me so much.
Yeah, the more they love, the more they lecture. So
yeah, you guys hear that?
Too much. No, just kidding. She might watch this, but no, I don't think she will. She doesn't really watch English stuff, so.
Nice. You're safe. You're safe here.
Yeah.
Let's see, any other types? Let's see, so we got the SJs, we got TI users. How about NFs?
Oh yeah, I think NFJs like to give as well, like gifts, and also I know ENFJs seem to like giving gifts, and they maybe not giving gifts, but like they just like giving in general. I think gifts is one of them, but they like giving. They like physical touch. They like the words of affirmation. They just like very like overt sense of giving. Like you can see them giving people a hug, or you know, affirming them. I think affirming is such an NFJ thing.
Yes.
Because of our FE, you know, it's like, oh, you can do it.
I know, and that's
like,
my favorite. It's my favorite love language from ENFJs. I know I have conflict with the strong FE, but when they're supportive, they are genuinely see your strength and support you. So I value that so much.
Yeah, and I do that a lot, I realize, with my friends as well. Like, you know, sometimes they ask me for advice, or they are like, you know, nervous or whatever during a date or something, and then I would give them the words of affirmation through text. So yeah, that's something that I noticed in NFJs a lot. What about the others? Let me think. Quality time. Yeah, quality time is I guess with ENFJs, I'm not sure, because they seem to be everywhere. Like they seem to spend time a lot with a lot of people. And they somehow are able to do that. Like they find time for many people.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And with other types of love languages, I think acts of service is more of maybe it's more of a, I don't know whether it's more of a ST thing, because it's very practical.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think SFJs too. SFJs probably love to help people out whenever they can. SFJ is another very giving.
Yes.
SFJ is so giving. Oh my gosh, they definitely love the words of affirmation and giving words of affirmation. And what else? Because it doesn't show. I don't know. Like they like to nurture people a lot with food. So I don't know where that is
Just feed
supposed to
everybody.
lie. Yeah, cooking and baking.
We're so stereotypical.
Yeah, like literally my ISFJ friend, like he is such a stereotypical ISFJ. Like every time he doesn't even know about MBTI, but every time I look at his Facebook, I'm like, oh my god, you're so stereotypical.
Yeah.
Like all his photos are his food. Like,
my cousin does that. My cousin, her Instagram's all food, and she always has food. Best food ever. Yeah. Yeah, they put the art into their cooking. Yes.
Like I tried this, Korean dish today, and then the other day it would be like baking a pie or something. So.
Yeah, big stuff.
SFJs. What are the other love languages? I keep forgetting.
The ones you don't do, the physical touch.
Yeah, the physical touch and quality time, words of affirmation.
Acts of service. There's only 5, so probably just the physical, and we don't really talk about.
I think SFJs do not give physical touch very much. I mean, they hug people, but yeah, but that's about it. I
have a note for people who are in relationships with ISFJs. Please give them words of affirmation. Please acknowledge them. They tend to give too much without, waving their flag that they've done something. They kind of like keep it all inside, and giving them acknowledgement, like make a big deal of it sometimes, it would really matter to them to make them feel seen.
Yeah, they really, they are very, like, they don't want to demand anything. They don't try to ask for something. So.
Yeah. But we're surrounded by so many. We need to show them care. They're the nurturers.
Yeah. There's a lot of SFJs out there. Do you know of the types preferences? Like, do you see a trend in any like preferring certain love language, or is it more of a personal thing?
I think it's very personal. I'm trying to find correlations for things online, and there are none, which is fascinating that I haven't found any. But I mean, I think behavior is not the same as intention, right? So if we have one type doing the same behavior, the motivation is different. So there is no correlation for me because I can't go inside their head and see where they're coming from. Not really. But I think it does really matter, like we mentioned way in the beginning, how well you know yourself. Because a lot of us are on a default reaction to things where someone showed us to care a certain way. We just repeat it. We don't question it until maybe your life falls apart and you lose everything and you have to start all over. And then you start questioning everything and what you want from yourself and others. And so it's a slow process, but I think that it's worth taking the journey. And but I do think ENFPs, since we're FI users, it's authentic, right? We like things to be authentic. So I think we like to put ourselves into the gift or the moment or the memory that we recreate for someone. Like the more novel and quirky, the better, because it's a more memorable event for someone to share with you. So when I didn't have this, I guess, I'm kind of don't make things for people anymore, but I used to make a lot of drawings. I used to draw all the time. I used to get picture frames, photo albums, and give them to people, because for me, my value was remembering things and documenting memories was of utmost importance, because sooner or later you look back and you have nothing to, look at. Your life is gone, So for me, photos are very important, and I would make sure that I would capture the moment to help people remember how important your life has been and how valuable you are. Because to me, taking a picture and being photographed means that someone matters to you, you're important. So like that gesture for me meant a lot, and so I would do that. It wasn't the photo itself, it's like the meaning behind it. So but now that I'm trying to declutter and keep everything very minimal, I think that for me, I'm leaning more towards just sharing information to help people grow, but also the support that people can fight their own battles. Like that's just the thing I want to do with anyone I care for. Like I'm here for you, but you know what you're doing, it's your life. I would never push you to do it my way because I know it's your life. I don't have all the information, and I would just value and respect you to live it however you want to live. Like that freedom and belief that you can conquer it. Like I can't tell you what to do because I don't know what it is myself. It's a separate life. And so I think that the freedom and respect is my love language for other people. And I don't know if that counts as words of affirmation, but I'll just put it there.
Yeah, I think for me it's similar. The freedom and respect thing, because I think that's something that I have to learn as well, being the J type, I guess. Like sometimes I might sound like I'm trying to decide for people when I'm not trying to. But yeah, like I think sometimes people making their own decisions actually might lead to great things for themselves. So even if it doesn't maybe seem like, maybe because I don't like to take risks, I guess, and I have problems. Sometimes I discourage people from taking risks, like taking risks in a relationship or something like that. But like, who knows? Like sometimes it may work out for them. I don't know. It really depends on the situation. But I feel like, when we give our own understanding and then they just go and do something based on their own understanding of what we said, so, and their own experience. So it's like we just give the advice, but we don't try to change them in any way.
Yes. Yeah. Right on. Totally on the same wavelength. I get that. Yes. All right. I don't know what else to say. I'm done.
Like, I don't know, like, because I don't know much about love languages.
I know, it's just a jumping off point. I think we just talked about relationships. So is there any advice that you have from your life experience, from your sage wisdom, that you think, whether people take it or not, would be great for people to just listen to and consider, related to whether it's personal development or relationships?
Okay, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this question since I'm currently not in a long-term relationship.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I moved a lot and so on. I wasn't like in one place and I was considering moving. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think I have like two advice that are maybe sometimes people don't really, it's hard to really apply, but it's like, I think it's important. I guess the first one is really something that I learned is to not easily go for someone who is clearly who clearly doesn't have what you need. So to really know yourself, because sometimes I feel like, I think it's like a societal maybe norm for people to put pressure on females especially to get into a relationship, and I understand where that's coming from, but it's also the reason why a lot of females are just not in a good relationship. Like I mean, it looks good on the surface, on social media and stuff, but I know a lot of them are not, because I know them personally. And so it's like, it really makes me sad, because it's like you see all these people maybe even married sometimes, and privately that it's not really a healthy relationship. And a lot of people are doing that because they really see the time running out. And sometimes I feel that too. It's a lot of pressure on women, and I don't know why. I feel really sad about that. Like sometimes I feel I really hope that we don't have that timeline issue, but it's like pressure from everywhere, you know. It's like pressure from parents, from like other men. Like I hear about guys talking about like how, I mean, privately talking about how, you know, if a girl is like, I mean, if a female is like single beyond a certain age, like they would feel it's like something wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. Like sometimes I feel that way about men who are like single when they are like too old as well. But it's just more pressure on women in general, I feel, and that can really lead us to make really bad decisions, especially rushing into a marriage. I see that happen with people like maybe 1 or 2 years older than me. And I don't know about them, but personally, I just really cannot see myself doing that, because it's like a marriage is like a really huge thing. Like rushing into a marriage is it's just so scary. Like your whole life, I mean, maybe not whole life, but like a huge part of your life. I would say try not to rush into something that is permanent. I think that's like my advice. I really think people should put the priority on personal growth, because if you put priority on like getting a marriage, which a lot of people do because of societal norms, it really, in the end, it just becomes like another repetition. Like it just feels like a lesson and so on. So I personally would rather not be in a marriage where I already know that I don't like that person that much. Yeah, and it's really sad when I see people doing that, which I've seen a lot of that happen. But the second advice, it may sound a little contradictory. Actually, not really. It's not really contradictory, but it's like more of being open to love. And I think that's something that I struggle with, because I mean, I do have an Enneagram 4, and I think we are known to be guarded. Yeah, and sometimes it's like I don't take the leap when I should. And so I would say like be more open to it, and don't like, sometimes it's like thinking too much is also not good. So it's like it's good to look out for the red flags and all that, you know, but just don't like overthink too much and delay too much, because sometimes that's also bad, like being too guarded and not open to opportunities. Like sometimes just like, I guess just like adopt the STP mentality, like just like be present and see where it can go. Yeah, which is something that I struggle with, you know. Yeah.
Those are both great, very, very profound advice that people could just listen to and actually meditate on, to contemplate, how does it manifest for me? Am I truly choosing the right person, or am I rushing because of societal standards? And noting that when you said to be open to love, it does pair with the first one, because if you're with someone who doesn't reflect love, why?
Yeah.
Like, your value isn't there. They might not be the worst person on the planet, but they're not the good fit for you. So why, you know? Hoping it's a lifelong commitment, but you know, sometimes it doesn't work out. But like knowing when to honor love, so important.
Yeah, it is really challenging.
It sure is. And by no means are we experts at this. We're just rambling our thoughts. But hopefully we do share tidbits of wisdom with people who end up watching the whole thing. I appreciate you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for sharing your presence, your wisdom, parts of your story. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for featuring me.
Of course. And again, what's your social media so people can find you?
So my channel name is just Tori H, and I do have a IG account, Personality Story. That's the account for my channel. Yeah.
Okay, don't forget to follow her accounts, and I will link them in the description below. This is it for us at INFJ and ENFP talking about relationships, and hopefully we'll talk again in the near future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.